director of Paragon Trust Company and tax and private client practitioner, joins us to bring a common sense approach to money in a world of total insanity. Let's welcome Tony D'Angelo.
All right, Tony D joins us every Tuesday, 6:35-ish or so, to chat about a number of different things. Now, next week, Tony, if I'm not mistaken, we're doing an extra half. We're doing a half hour, right, next week?
Right, 7 to 7:30 next week.
Now, you're going to unleash what on everybody, just so they know?
Well, it's something involving a vendor that the state has signed up with. It did not get a lot of publicity, but when you hear about it, you're going to really start to question who's giving you information and for what purposes.
Okay. All right, I'm looking forward to that. So a little bit of an altered schedule.
And good morning. Proud to be among everybody.
Good morning. Forgot to say that to you. How are you today?
I am okay. You know, I thoroughly enjoyed your conversation with Gary Byron on Wednesday about show business and, you know, dabbling in and out of show business, because I am a show business kid, not for any talent, but my father, my uncles, my cousins. We'll get into that, but the thing that show business teaches you, or taught me, is that no day is promised to you. You know, our Bible reading friends know that. The other thing is that you're only as good as the last thing you did, and that you're constantly looking for the next thing, and you're developing to do better. And there's so many things. I wouldn't be here, Lee Elci, but for the theater. My dad worked in the theater. You know, Michael Dante, my friend and mentor from Stanford, who you interviewed, you know, just turn Michael on and there it goes. And, you know, it's just there's so many, you know, theater influences I have, so I'm so respectful of theater people. Wendy was on yesterday talking about the theater. Support the theater, because if we don't have arts, man, we're in the dark ages.
Yeah. No, I know we can get into this another time, but what did your dad do?
My dad, believe it or not, my 7th grade educated dad was a lighting and sound director on Broadway.
Wow.
This is a guy that just applied himself. Not a perfect man. You know, my Uncle Mike, who probably had less formal education, this is a guy that, you know, read Barron's and the Wall Street Journal and, you know, had Benrus watches. I still have the Benrus watches, thank God. And wore Brooks Brothers clothes. He was a prop man, and there's a lot of funny prop stories I could tell you. But, yeah, then I had cousins. If you have absolutely nothing to do and you're watching an old All in the Family, or Three's Company from the 70s, you'll see the lighting director, Anthony Sestair. That's my cousin. Huh. You know, we were named after the same uncle, and, yeah, he was a character. But, yeah, so and why did I not go into this business? Because it was the kind of thing that, you know, I always said to my father, Dad, I don't want to work at night. I don't want crazy hours. It's like he must be laughing right now from heaven, because it's like anything but that my life has been.
That's funny. That's good. All right, so that's a date then. We're gonna have to talk about that, because I would love to hear some of those stories, because a little behind the scenes stuff. There's nothing like behind the scenes stories.
Oh yeah.
You know, especially, you know, people don't know some of the stuff that goes on. You know, some of the things that go on these sets, and some of the things that go on. Listen, I had a very brief sort of, you want to call it a career as you know, with the soaps and doing a regular gig. But some of the things I've seen before 7 a.m. would be shocking. You know, it's just incredible stuff. So.
Oh, it really is.
All right, so where are we going today?
Well, and doing our December to Remember, you know, we talked last week about, I used the term fake news Connecticut, and maybe that's not a correct term, or a technically correct term. I should call it partly fake news Connecticut, because I used to work, believe it or not, probably my first real job out of college was in the news tabloid industry. Yeah, I worked in marketing. And one day I happened to walk into an executive's office, and I said, why do people buy this crud? Which, you know, it's Liza, no, Tony, you got it wrong. It's not entirely false. It's half true. Well, in the world of half-truths, when you look at the news sources that we get, you have to look and say, okay, what's real? What are they telling me? You know, what does the statistic mean? In our medical political theocracy, news that you won't get anywhere else, and this is really our friends in Rhode Island and our friends in New York, CEO Magazine, these are the people that look at, you know, states for things like safety, favorable tax system, transportation, business friendliness, job creation, and things like that. On a scale of 1 to 50, as far as where one would want to do business, now I always say we're on a national stage, regardless of what they tell us. We're number 47. Number 47. Now, if the people in New York and Rhode Island are sitting there smirking, well, New York and New Jersey are actually like 48 and 49. California's 50. Rhode Island's 46. And I say to myself, Lee Elci, we have something known as the Department of Economic and Community Development. They've taken $140 million this year. $140 million. And if you have any business, if you have anything, if you have a leaky pipe, you say to yourself, man, I got to stop this because I'm just losing this for nothing. We just keep throwing money at this thing, and it's just absolutely unbelievable. So it's we can chuckle, but it's sobering because this is the perception of the country and beyond that, the world and what's happening in the East Coast of the United States. Your ball.
I hate to say this, but, and I hate to call for somebody who's got a job and working every day to be fired. But if you're working within that sort of organization in the state of Connecticut, like you're in charge of economic and business growth, you got to get fired. We need new people. I mean, because whatever you're doing, it's not working.
Well, it's like if you had a radio show, on the Full Power Network, and somebody scaring away advertisers, alienating listeners. Right. Yeah,
exactly.
It's just we're going to keep doing this for 12 weeks straight. I mean, it's like it defies human logic.
So who do you know who's in charge of that organization? I mean,
yeah, the head of that organization is a gentleman by the name of David Lehman.
Okay, because I remember, there was a time when Rob Simmons was the business advocate, former congressman.
I do recall.
And I got to tell you something. Nobody in this world, I swear, works harder than Rob Simmons. I remember him with that job, and he was on the air with me at the time, and he would tell me stories. He'd drive to all four corners of the state in his own car, and he would meet with the different.
Yes.
Yeah, he'd meet with a different business every day, and he'd be like, "All right, what can we do?" And then he would do it. Yeah. And then they eliminated that position, and this is what we got. We got garbage.
Yeah, it's and where are you going to get this stuff? And I mean, my pledge here and my honor in being here is I like to give people something where they'll know really what the truth is. There's nothing I'm going to give somebody that I can't reach to a document or a hard piece of. And right. Somebody has to give account for this stuff.
What'd you hear about any new stimulus, Tony? Anything going on with that?
Well, where I left off yesterday was the hang-up is the Democrats do not want full COVID liability protection. They're lobbied by the trial lawyers. The Republicans do not want to hand money to the cities because they are the party of fiscal responsibility. So I do not know where that comes in. I'm just kind of. I hate to use the word fearing some monstrosity happening that, something like a little bit worse than the CARES Act. Well, we really don't know which end is up. But, yeah, it's really that's apparently the last piece to the puzzle.
Did you watch any of the President-elect's speech last night? Were you inspired?
You mean the alleged President-elect of the United States? I did not. And honestly, truthfully, he is not a man that invokes any kind of excitement in me whatsoever.
Let me ask you this. So I know you just made a joke. I opened up the show talking about this. And whenever I talk about this, if I write about it, maybe you talk about it in your circles or what have you, the liberal left will, they'll furrow their brow. They'll look at you as if somehow you're being unpatriotic.
Being awful.
Yeah. I mean, is it really unpatriotic to question the legality of this election? All I've said in the beginning is when it's all said and done, if you prove everything to be on the up and up, then I'll just go on my merry way. And if that's what's happened, then I'm going to do that, right? But I just hope that the Republicans are smart enough to try to fix whatever happened in 2020. Because if we have elections where people can vote from their kitchen table forever without any kind of serious signature verification or anything goes along with that, it's over for them.
It certainly is. And the fact is that if we don't have a democracy where, how hard it is to get quote-unquote true news. Doesn't have to be news you like or news you agree with, but just true news.
Right.
Or even be like one dissenting voice. One thing that I'll mention, the Hartford Courant had an article yesterday, not yesterday, but Sunday, about the governor and how much difficulty he's having and how how the tightrope is, between the medical community and the business community, and woe is him, and feel sorry for him. If you read some of the comments, and this is just part of the things that sort of set me off by the doctors in the article about, suspending your freedom and personal responsibility is a guise and things, and we've got to put a stop to this and get real. It's like, and I say, people, you've never worked a profit-making day in your life. You have had a guaranteed salary. You've never, tried to hustle on a set, or tried to scrap together a job in business. Do you have any clue of the damage you are doing? They don't. So to your point, Lee Elci, about getting the real news and the real vote and anything, there has to be a bright line of truth. Not if you agree or disagree with it, but there has to be a bright line of truth.
Agreed. And to that point, this president-elect, has never really had a real job in his life. He was a senator, the youngest senator in history. Has he ever really worked? Has he dug a hole? Has he?
Like so many, he dabbled in a law practice, and I think a lot of them are like, hey, this is really hard work. I don't want to do it, so let me go somewhere where I can get a guaranteed gig and rely on others for what I for my sustenance.
Amazing. All right, listen, next week we'll spend a little bit more time. Everybody will be looking forward to that.
Do it.
All right, buddy. Thank you.
Thank you. Take
the
care.
one and only Tony D joining us here on this Tuesday, and we'll get a little bit more of Tony D